The second part of stiffeners is our internal stiffeners. How to create an internal stiffener. This is also known as our group tie rods. Now, tie rods can be created right here, or they can also be created in our tie rod section. It's whatever you choose. If we're going to create an internal stiffener or a tie rod here, all we need to do is come over and click the Create a New Stiffener icon. When we click on that, we can label it whatever we want. We will call this one IS for internal stiffener, and we'll label it 1. So IS1. Now what we need to do is choose what stiffener type we want. Now there are two possibilities: quantity based and space based. Quantity based essentially means that we're going to just pick a number of tie rods we want and place them in the width or depth. For example, quantity based here is 3. I might want to do space based though, which means I can say don't add 3 tie rods, add a tie rod every 5 inches. PractiCAM will add as many tie rods as it takes until you get to the end of the actual width or depth. Now first here is the width, and the second one is the depth. So if you'd like a quantity based stiffener or tie rod, you can choose one that will go on the width and depth. One can be based on quantity though, and one can be based on space if you like. You would just click on this one. And then you have your other 3 choices as follows. Let's say for this stiffener though, IS1, we're just going to choose a quantity based. Now we have choices. Stiffener parameters. We have a width add. Essentially with add, if I just change the number, you'll see exactly what it does. I just said 5. That means it's going to add 5 inches to either side of this stiffener. If I bring it back to 0, it'll go back. If I have stiffeners on the depth, I can also have a depth add, which works the same way. I can also select an angle. I can select a hole diameter, which if we zoom in, we can see, let's say hole diameter, make it 1 inch. You can see now we have hole diameter of 1 inch. And we can change the rod diameter as well. Let's say we're going to make that 1 inch as well. Or now we'll bring it back to ½ inch. So you can adjust the hole diameter and rod diameter. Now, if you would like PractiCAM to cut the holes for the placement of these rods, all you need to do is keep this box checked. And then when you're inside a takeoff and you select IS1, it will cut these holes. And we will do that at the end of this segment. Next we have an offset. Offset means how far are these rods going to be from the top of the fitting. If I would like to say offset 10 inches, you'll see that it moves it 10 inches from the top in. If I say 5 inches, it'll move it 5 inches from this point to right here where we'll place them. So let's change it back to 5 inches. Next what we're going to do is we're going to select a quantity. How many do we want? We can adjust our quantity here to 1, 2, or 3, or more. Here we're just going to say 1. Now we have a hole offset. If I were to have, for example, 2, we want to offset this hole from the edge of this fitting this way. For example, let's change the hole offset to 1 inch. You can see now the distance from this point to this point is exactly 1 inch. If I change the hole offset to 3, it moves the holes 3 inches from this point here. Using our offsets will allow us to place our holes wherever we want. We have our orientation, of course, whether we want them on the width or the depth, which we can adjust. We have interference, which means if we have a rod coming on the width and another rod coming on the depth, we can choose how far we want those rods to be together. If we only want them to be a ½ inch or say 1 inch apart, we type in 1 inch. And now if I add rods on the depth as well, they will make sure that when they cross, they are 1 inch apart. Next you have your single position and double position. This means that if I only add 1 rod, where would I want to place it? For example, for IS1, we're going to say that when we only have a single rod, we're going to place it on the end. Now this part can be adjusted on the fly inside a takeoff field as well, and we will show you. Double position means that if we have 2 rods that we need, where would we want it? We can choose from many different choices. In center, which would be the in portion of the fitting in the center. Center out, which would be the center portion of the fitting and the out portion. Or we can do the in and the out. For let's say as a default, we're going to set it as the in center. Once I have my stiffener type, parameters, everything saved, we can now save my IS1 to my library. Now we can go to the takeoff and see what it looks like when we apply it. Here we are looking at a transition in which we're going to now add our group tie rod, and you're going to scroll down to IS1, which is now a choice. We can now select the count. Now you will notice that you have all the parameters here as well, so you can adjust these tie rods on the fly if you'd like. However, you can set them as default in your accessory part underneath my libraries that we've just shown you. You can see here as we add a 1 count, single position is already set as a default as in. So if I press OK, it will now put it right here. However, if I decide to change and put in a 2 count, you'll notice that the double position is set as in and center. So now we're going to have rods in the in portion and the center. If I would like to change it on the fly, for example, to have it center out, I can do so right here. And PractiCAM will automatically adjust it. This is how we create and apply an internal stiffener or group tie rod.